What's happening there, YouTube? Genji here, and welcome back to our mini assembly line here in Season 2 of StarRupture. Take a good look at it because we're going to be tearing all of this down today to replace it with all the new stuff that we unlocked in the first episode. But before we launch into that project, I want to take care of a few side projects first, beginning with all of these solar panels. We're going to tear all these solar panels down, and I want to consolidate them not only into one area, but into several vertical stacks so that we reduce the overall footprint of these solar panels so that we make more room to put our expanded assembly line here. We're going to move we're going to move all the solar panels over here and get them out of the way, and then we'll have all this extra flat area here to move the whole assembly line to the left a bit when we do our rebuild. I want to ideally get everything involved in manufacturing intermediate building materials into this footprint here. And then we'll make this our intermediate building materials base where we can come back to grab handfuls of those while we're busy building dedicated bases for item production elsewhere. So let's go ahead and start on that before we get into anything else. So let's start tearing these down. Before we get started here, I do want to toss in a couple of tips. I had a number of people ask me about triple stacking other buildings besides fabricators. So I only have access to furnaces right now other than fabricators. So we'll start with furnaces. So I'm going to plop down a furnace and we're going to see if we can triple stack this. So the main thing when trying to triple stack in update 1 is that at the height of the third deck, your pillars only have 2 tiles of support. So if I place this down, we have 1, 2, or 1, 2, or 1, 2. So you get a pattern that looks like this around the central pillar. So basically what you have to do to get a third deck on is make sure that you can overlap these diamond shapes in order to cover the entire footprint of the building that you're trying to support on the third deck. So we can actually do that fairly easily with fabricators, but it's a little unconventional. So instead of doing like a normal pattern like where we would do it at the corners or in the middle in the early access version, in order to do this in the update 1 version, we're actually going to have to stagger these. And what I mean by that is we'll do this point right here. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll lock our Z, and we're going to do the basically we're going to take every other tile on the side of these furnaces. So a layout like this. And what that's going to do is that when we reach the third deck, these 2 tile lengths away from each of these pillar supports they're going to interlock. They're going to weave together to form the supports for the platform up on the third deck. And then in between the tiles, these will be supported by the closest adjacent tile. So we would go 1, 2, and then we're supported by this pillar. And from here, we would go 1, 2, and we're supported by this pillar. So if we just bring this up by 3 pillars now, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we slap a platform on this, we should now be able to place a furnace at the height of our third deck. Like so. And then getting the second deck on here is much easier. Now, if you want this to be equidistant, so there's not an offset like there was in the early access version, the towers that I made actually had more. They had 1 extra tile space between the first and the second deck than between the second and the third deck. Instead of going at the height, where's my pillar? There's my pillar. Instead of going at the height of the bottom deck, if you lower it by 1, this will actually... Lock that, please. This will actually make it an equidistant distance between the 2 decks. So we'll slap a pillar on here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Put a platform on each. And then we'll slap down a furnace. And there you go. Now you have triple stacked furnaces with an equal amount of space between each deck. The other question I've been getting a lot is, can you still stack rails in order to distribute multiple lines of materials in the same 1 tile width like I did in the 100% scanner efficiency video? And for those of you who are not familiar with that, basically in the early access version, you were able to actually put multiple rails or stack multiple rails vertically in the same space. There was a bug that you could exploit that If you had an existing rail, so basically if you put a rail at the lowest height like this, and then you ran a rail from one connector to the other, you would then be able to place another rail connector in that space that's already occupied by that rail, as long as this center bulb from the rail that you're trying to place is at the height of that rail or above. Now that was fixed in the Update 1 release, so you can no longer place a new rail head in the path of an existing rail, but you have a few different options. The one potential solution to this is if you have access to multi-rails, I'll place 2 multi-rails here, and I'll run a rail here and a rail here, but I will not run a rail through the middle, and then you can then place another rail in that gap, like so. And the rail head itself, the rail pole, will pass through that gap in the center of the multi-rail and allow you to build multiple sets of rails along the same tile width. So you could do this with another set of multi-rails, like this, and you can repeat this process so you can use the outside lanes of your multi-rail, and as long as the center is still open, you can still pass then another set of rails through that gap, and so on and so forth. You can actually stack a huge number of rails running together on the same line, but this doesn't actually help us get materials into our furnaces in this case, but it can be anything, a fabricator, a mega press. So the solution that I have for replicating our stacked rail distribution system is to basically use the same setup, actually. So we're going to use rail connectors. I'm going to put a set of lower rail connectors, like so. I'm going to put a set of default height rail connectors, like so. And then I'm going to put a set of maximum, well, we're going to offset this by 3, because this is a 3 offset going down, 1, 2, 3. So you could actually go above 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the up direction, but it makes it an unequal distance between the sets of them, so I'm just going to go up by 3. Just for the sake of consistency. And the trick is, since we can no longer run these rails through the other rail heads in a parallel line, what we can do is actually interweave these rails. So we're actually, normally we would use the offset of the rail connector facing the machines to run our rails into the machines themselves. So it would have been like this originally, but what we're going to do this time is, instead of using this connection on our lower rail, we're actually going to use this connection to weave this line around each set of adjacent rail heads or rail pillars, and then we're going to use the forward direction of the rail connector to run this output into our target machine, like so. Now for the middle set of connectors, we're going to do kind of a similar strategy. We're going to do, instead of a full sine wave, we're going to do a half sine wave. So we're going to take the output of the rail connector facing away from the machine and run this around the adjacent railhead, like so. That this creates kind of like a wave pattern, like that. And now we have a rail running through all of our mid connectors. And then for the top connector, since there's nothing in the way, we can just run this directly to the left. So there you go. Now all you have to do is just connect up all of your inputs here. Middle, top, middle, top, middle, top, and there you go. You can now feed in 3 parallel vertically stacked lines of materials into your machines in a 1 tile width lane. So like I said, we're going to stack these vertically so that we reduce the overall footprint. So to do that, we need to start by placing 1 down, and then each additional level of solar panel is going to require an offset of 14 tiles. So for our first level, we're going to start with our supported platform, offset it by 2, and we're actually going to do this in the back. We'll see why shortly. So we'll offset this by 2, 1, 2, and then we'll stack some pillars on top. So each one of these pillars is 6, so this would be 8, and then 14. We can slap a platform on top of that, and then we can put an additional solar generator on top of this one, like so. And to do our third level, because of the height, we're actually going to have to support this on all sides, because at the height that we're going to be at, the pillars only offer 1 tile of support. So we're going to have to offset these by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lock our Z. We'll place this on all sides. And then go up 4 pillars. And then we'll cap this with platforms. And now we can place a 3rd level of solar panels right there. I'm going to repeat this to replace all of the solar panels that I just tore down. So let me repeat this a few times and we'll be back up in just a minute. And 42. That should be enough to get all of our production back online, even though we're going to be deleting it in just a minute. Let's just double check here. If I connect this to this, and there we go, green lights. So there we go, just stacks and stacks and stacks of version 1 solar panels in a rather small footprint, only the width of about 12, right? We're 6 by 2 down here. And now we can clear all of this, move the whole line back up, right, probably up against the base of our building here, our habitat. And then we'll rebuild this to produce, hopefully, intermediate building materials. But before we get into that, let's take a look at our brand new development station, which is where we're going to be unlocking pretty much everything that we're going to need going forward in the game. So we have all of our corporations here on the left-hand side, and we can see all of the things under that corporation, all the buildings offered by that corporation that we can upgrade to higher tiers. So, for example, one of the first things that we're going to want is our rail V2s here. So we already have enough length of rail built to meet this like objective requirement, and then we have a material requirement to supply 40 quartz, 25 ignitium, and 1200 research points. So I'm pretty sure I have enough ignitium already. Let's double check. I have 75, so we can take care of that, no problem. But we are going to have to, in the next rupture, go out and harvest up a few more quartz ores because we don't quite have enough for that. So we'll have to put that off for just a bit. We'll put a pin in that for now. And we also have access to solar generator V2s. So we need to increase our total amount of power consumed by buildings to meet the objective requirement, and then supply additional quartz and ignitium. So we'll put that probably 3rd. Well, we'll do this after rails, because I do want to get into the fabricator V2 as well. So we are just on the cusp of being able to achieve this. We have a few more fabricator recipes to unlock. If I take a look at the recipe station here, fabricator. So we have the blueprints for tubes, stabilizers, and stators, and then everything else is just going to require raw materials, most of which we're already producing. The only thing that we're not making right now is tubes and glass, but that can be arranged. And we don't actually have to produce applicators, we just have to have the recipe unlocked to meet this requirement, right? Unlock all fabricator recipes, yeah. So we'll make this 3rd. So on our list of things to do today, we'll have rail V2, solar generator V2, and fabricator V2. And I think maybe orbital cargo launcher, but all this is going to require a massive amount of quartz. So we'll see how much of that we get through today. We'll call that a stretch goal, see if we can get that one unlocked. But with that in mind, let me go ahead and tear all of this down, and we can rebuild this with storage depots in mind and with multi-rails in mind, because we now have access to extendable walkways, we have access to multi-rail 3s, and we have access to storage depots. So let me get deconstructing here. Oh, okay, we got most of it taken down, but now we gotta hide.
Planetary temperature returning to normal.
Okay, well, we have a moment here. Let's go gather up as much ignitium and quartz as we can. Oh, it's in a rock. That's not fair. Oh, we can still reach it, though. And his buddies, too. And some Vulpir eggs. There's no eggs. They're barren. Right here on the map, which is kind of southeast of our base. So here's our base down here. I've gone southeast here. There's an area right down here past the sulfur fields. that has a series of 1, 2, and 3 caves here. So I'm going to go spelunking in all these and see how much quartz we can extract. Oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh. I guess that's not a 12. Okay. So 11 nodes across all 3 of these caves. Not a bad haul. And then there's one more a little further southeast from there. There's 12. Oh, and another patch. 13, 14, not bad. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to base because the vermin are gonna start spawning soon.
Acquired.
Oh, you can still do that thing where you can harvest the ignitium after it's become star tiers. Ha! Good to know that's still in there. For a very small window before the regeneration completes. Okay, let's check our haul here. So we got 12 ignitium and 70 quartz ore, which is more than enough to unlock what we want to unlock. So let me grab our existing pile of ignitium and quartz here. We'll hit our development station. Clever Robotics, Rail V2. Let's insert, 1200 research points, and then you have to hit research. Don't walk away without pressing this. And there we go. Now we have Rail V2. Okay, let's finish clearing up the last of the line here, and then we can start our rebuild. Okay. Our build area is all clear, and I took the time to go and upgrade all of our feeder rails for raw ores to a V2 rail, as well as add some extra excavators on them so that our output for all of these titanium, wolfram, and calcium totals up to 240 items per minute on these rails. So we have all this coming into 3 storage depots right here, which will mark the beginning of our line, and then we're going to start working in this direction to squeeze in as much of the intermediate building material production as we can. Okay, I had some requests after the last episode to have a slower, more detailed guide on how these stacks are manufactured, so I'm going to do just a stack of smelters here at the beginning of the line. So we'll start by placing down a couple of smelters here. We'll do 1, and then 2. We'll then take a rail connector, put it at the front of the stack here, and then lower it by 1, for a reason that I'll show you here in a minute. Bring this back up to its normal height, and then we'll put this in the middle between the 2, 1 on each side, and then 1 in the very back on the right-hand side here. So you should have 4 total like this for 2 manufacturers. Then we'll take our rail, and then our bus will be here running alongside all of our manufacturing stacks. So our items will be coming into the front of this rail connector. So to wire up the input, we'll take the right-hand output of this rail connector, run it into our first machine, then run this backwards, then run this into our second machine. And if we had a third machine, that we'd have a rail connector here, and we run that into our third machine, and so on and so forth. And then for the output side, we do the same. So we take the output into the other rail connector, run this forward, output into the rail connector, and then finally, to get this back onto the line, to put the item that we're manufacturing here back onto the line, we'll go a single rail connector. I mean, you can use a rail connector here, but a rail support is fine. Lower it by 1, and then bring your rail into that. And the reason we bring these down 1 is because our bus line will be running here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be enough. That's 15 items. Now, in the first season, I had a storage depot directly to the right of this front-hand building here, so it didn't actually come straight onto the rail connector. It would come into a storage depot first to buffer the output, and then run back onto the line. But because we're somewhat limited in space this time, and because we're not building a build everything assembly line. We're just building an assembly focused on producing intermediate building materials. I'm going to change up the formula slightly, but depending on what your purposes are, you can either buffer it in the front here, in which case you would take this rail off and then run this into your storage depot first, and then run this back into your rail connector to go back onto the line. But this does extend the width of each of your manufacturing stacks. So I think what I'm going to do in this particular instance is actually buffer this in the back. So we'll put a storage depot back here, and we'll actually run our output backwards first and then back forward again. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. So in this particular use case, instead of using rail connectors here, I'm going to use multi-rail 3s. And then we'll take the output of our first manufacturer into the multi-rail 3, run this backwards to the next multi-rail support, and then we'll put our storage depot at the back of the stack. We can then take our first output into here, our second output into the side, and then we can return from our storage depot back forward using the multi-rail support, and then into our front support. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because I want to make these individual stacks as narrow as possible so that we can fit as many manufacturing stacks in to produce different items as we can in this limited space here. So we will need some pillars on the side here for our second floor. I'm going to put these, because we have to clear the height of a storage depot and not necessarily just the smelter, I'm going to put these at the floor height of the manufacturers instead of raising them by 3. If you're just trying to clear the height of the smelter, you can actually raise this by 3, 1, 2, 3, and put a single pillar on top of that, cap that off, and you'll be high enough so that your second deck will clear your first level manufacturers. But because I want this to go over the top of these storage depots, they have to go higher. So we're going to put these at the height of the lower platform, one on each corner, and then 2 pillars on top of each of these. And that will give us enough height to clear our storage depot. Now we can put our second floor of smelters on, so we'll cap off each of these pillars. We can place our smelters. We'll do rail connectors on the left. These can be at full height because there won't be any bus to dip under on the top floor here. There and there, and then we're going to need multi-rail connectors on the right side. One here. One here. And I think we're going to need another pillar in the back here for our second floor storage depot. Let's just double check. Yeah, we're going to need some extra support back here. So we'll do the same formula here. Supported platform. We can't do it here, but we can do it, I guess, here. So we'll do platform, pillar, pillar, platform, and then between these two platforms here, I should be able to place a storage depot right here. There we go. And then we'll do the same rail hookups. So we'll come out of the right-hand side here, input into the smelter, run this back into the smelter, output into the multi-rail connector, run this backwards, output into our storage depot, and then from the storage depot, run this back forward again. And this can go into a full height rail support right here. And now we need to get this over our main bus line here. So to do that, we have to put a platform on the opposite side of our bus. We'll use the same pillar arrangement here. And let's lock our Y, or lock our Z here. 2 pillars. cap with a platform. And then we'll use rail supports. Match our Z, or lock our Z. Lower this by 1 on each side. And then we can use full height on the top. 1 here, 1 here. This will loop up. This will loop down. And we'll send this across as our input rail. This will come across as our output rail. And then we'll have a multi-rails here will be our continuation of the bus. So we'll lock our Z here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you just have to determine what needs to come off of the bus into this manufacturing stack. So in this case, we're going to take our 3 basic ores and bring them into this first pole here on 1, 2, and 3. So if we want to smelt titanium here, we have titanium here. So this would come down something like this into this rail. This would come down into this rail. We'll probably do something a little bit cleaner than this, but just as an example. So if we want to smelt titanium here, we take a rail connector, lower it by 1. Take our titanium off of the first rail of the first pole into here. Run it to the left if we're looking down the line here. So now we have titanium accessible to our smelters. The output will go backwards to the storage depot, forward again to here, and then we want to put our titanium bars back onto the next available pole. So these 3 are already full. Titanium ore, wolfram ore, calcium ore. So our first available rail will be rail 1 of pole 2. So we'll lower this by 1. Move this into here, and then back up onto the line again. Then I don't necessarily know if we'll need titanium ore available again for anything, but ordinarily you would run this from this connector, comes down off of the bus into this connector, goes to your manufacturing, and then runs back up onto the main bus again so that it can continue forward. And then on the opposite side, we have our export coming down here, coming directly to here. So this is going to be wolfram bars. So this will go directly next to our first connector over to here. And our next available pole is, or next available rail is pole 2, rail 2. So we'd go from here into here. And there we go. So this is the cross section that I'm going to try to use for this particular assembly line, and I'm going to hope that we can fit with this narrower configuration of what we used in the first season. We can fit enough manufacturing in here to get up to intermediate building materials, but we'll see how far along we can get. So I won't bore you with rebuilding the entire line since that was basically all we did in the first episode, so let me rebuild as much of this as we can, and then we'll move on to, I guess, getting some additional things onto our assembly line here, because we're going to need some more furnace recipes in here. We're going to need some helium, so we have some stuff to unlock before we can hit our goal of intermediate building materials. But let me get to work on rebuilding this line. More quartz. It feels like most of the caves now have more quartz in them, because I think they don't regenerate anymore. Which is both fortunate and unfortunate, because it means you only get to hit each cave once, so you're more reliant on actually exploring the map to find more caves, and not just repeatedly farming nearby caves to your base. Cave number 3. Maybe some quartz in here, because there's definitely 100% no way I've been to this cave. There we go. Enter cave. Alright. Cave number 4. Give me the quartz. What? There's no quartz inside? There's 3 caves here with no quartz? What is this scam that they have running here? Okay, well that was a bust, but I guess we are right here next to another outpost. And it is daytime, so I'm gonna get mobbed by vermin either way, so I might as well just stop in here and grab this blueprint while we're out. Step right up. Very cheery music for a not so cheery situation. See if I can remember where this one is. Hey. No. Owie. Get my shield back here, do a little healing. Yeah. Get him. Where is the blueprint here? So many infections.
Arcadia 7 has finished regenerating.
Oh yeah, I can't do that. I can do that though. Hey! Do you have to be so noisy about it?
Changing mags.
Oh god. Babies! I know we can go down. I don't think the blueprints are down though. Let's lead them out of the fog. And into my mining laser.
Reloading.
I should be picking these up. I'm still in endgame mode for my last playthrough, where I'm like, I don't need these. I have hundreds of these. More pustules. Ooh, bullets. Good. Follow me, kiddos.
Reloading.
Okay. We clear the fog.
I don't see any more enemies.
Oh. Is that it? Oh. I think it was in the room that we went to. The very first room we went into. It was just hidden in the dark. Alright, so we got synthetic silicon blueprint. Very nice.
Yes.
We'll be making plenty of that soon. Maybe this isn't that room. At any rate, we got what we came for. We'll take our juice box. Let's get out of here. So that is tubes, which I think I need to go unlock. Yeah, so I'll have to cut back. We'll have to include this bit in the recording. Let's go unlock tubes. So tubes are going to cost us a blueprint, 300 titanium rods, and 400 titanium sheets, which I may have laying around already. Let's see, rods. 1, 2, 3, 4, was it? 300, and then sheets. One, two, three, 4. Fabricator. Sheets, oh, 600. Let's see, I don't have any more lems. Yeah, I'll have to pull the rest off the line, no big deal. And with everything lined up neat in the back here, I can probably just extend a walkway across this, and then I can just come here to go shopping. Oh, what do I want? I want beams up there. I want sheets right here. It's all right here for my perusing. There we go. We'll go turn these in. Fabricator, sheets, research points, tubes. All right, let's make them. Tubes. Tubes are going to take rods and sheets. Rods and sheets. Let's get our V2 rail. Should be right here. This should be rods. This is sheets. Rods is here. Yeah. So rods and sheets right next to each other here on rail 3. So we'll do a rail connector here. Go down 1. 1 right next to it. Go down... It's already down 1. So we'll take output, or we'll take rail 1 and go here. We'll take rail 2 and go here. And then... I guess in this case we'll probably want to do, because we now have multi-rails and not individual rails, we'll probably actually want to offset this like we were doing in Season 1. So we'll actually go forward 1. We'll do 1 here. 1 here. And then we'll go back 1. So I'll set this to the minimum height, right? And then 1 here. And we'll do a secondary bus. I'll show you why in a second. So let's connect this up to here. We'll connect this up to here. So the reason that we do the secondary bus is because if we send both of these to the left, like if we came directly into these two connectors here and send both of these to the left, this connection right here would allow titanium sheets on this rail to then hop onto and continue forward onto the rail for titanium rods. So we don't want to cross-contaminate the rails. So by doing it this way, we take these into two connectors here. We run the connectors back to a secondary bus that runs then to the left and up into here. And now this loop here is a one-way street. So the sheets coming off of this rail loop around here, and they can't get back up onto the rail for titanium rods because this connection only goes one direction. So it's a gate. So then we can send all of our materials in this direction, like this. Here comes our sheets. No, those are our rods. Where's our sheets? Oh, I didn't connect them, the output up. That would explain it. Where did you just put me? Here we are, okay. That would help. Now they're flowing. Okay, so these are gonna come on this rail. Whatever, you can see it. And now they're joining onto a single rail here, but there's no cross-contamination. We're not linking these two or having any leakage of these materials. So now we should be producing tubes here, and we're sending tubes back to here. And then this next stack here will go straight to furnaces, We're not going to do any wolfram plates here because wolfram plates are not used in the production of intermediate building materials. More ignitium. Excuse me. There we go. Some quartz, finally. Okay, that's there. And there's another cave right up here. Oh, it's a cave in a cave. I see. Finally! Whoa! The mother lode. Look at it all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is insane. The biggest haul yet. Okay, I think that was all the quartz here. This is right here on the map. So here's our base. So I ran south around this mountain, and then right around the corner here is a cave with 6 quartz in it. Let's check our haul. We got another 40 quartz. Oh, we have 2 stacks of it now.
Great.
Have to manually stack it here. There we go. Okay. Let's finish this rebuild. Move up. Send it across. Move back. Send it down. And now that we have V2 rails, we should have no problem supplying enough to actually feed 2 furnaces. So tubes we already have set up down below. So up top here, we'll do wolfram powder. Wolfram powder. Set our storage to wolfram powder. We need to connect up wolfram bars to this. Wolfram bars should be rail 2. Pole 2, rail 2. So we'll go here, down, pole 2, rail 2. We can go on the side, that's fine. And then we want to get this over to here, which we can just go straight in. This is all under the line, so that's fine. So this should be flowing already. Here they come. And then we're going to output. And we do actually maybe need to put this a little bit lower, because we do need to get this. You know, we can cheat this. We can cheat this, so we can do a multi-rail. Here. And a multi-rail here. And as soon as these bars run by... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to interrupt them. Bars, stop. So we can do a rail 2 here. Like this. And because we're not using this center rail of the multi-rails, we can actually put this rail connector back. And it doesn't interfere with this rail here. We'll go down 1. And then we'll reconnect our bars here and through to here, and they can stop whining. And now this can hop onto this. And we're going to export this to, looks like, the 3rd rail of our 4th pole. Which you can probably just go straight, we probably don't even need that, we can probably just go straight up like this, although we do need to bring these forward. Let's just make sure this doesn't interfere. So if we go forward, whoop, and forward, and we wrap this around, we can't. Okay, so we do need a rail connector. To bring this up. Here we go. And then our last guy here is just going to go straight in here, because there's nothing else. Nothing here needs to come forward. So that's fine. Now we have tubes and wolfram powder on our lines, so let me just connect everything forward. Okay, onto our furnaces on the bottom, which we should have just enough room to squeeze under our second tier here. So 2 furnaces, rail connectors, here and here, multi-rails, here and here, storage depot in the back. Rail V2, in, out, send this back, loop this into here, loop this, no, this into here, connect, there we go, we'll send this back, and a rail support here, going down, and that stack is done. So for titanium housings, that's what we're going to do here. We need beams and sheets. So sheets is this little hump I had to do here to get this over all this mess we had here. We'll take a rail connector. We're going to bring this out. Well, technically, we don't need sheets anymore after this. So we don't have to continue this line. So I'm going to just join these up. So we need sheets and then beams. Beams are rail 3 of this same line. There we go. So we'll take rail 2 into here, rail 3 into here. We'll send these to the left. And I did not bring this down by 1. Send that in, send that back. Okay. Here come sheets. Here come beams. And I think this is also the last stop for beams, because beams are only used in titanium housing, so both of these lines will end here. So I don't care that they're joined together in a single line like this. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm not used to the multi-rails working correctly. There we go. So I could technically use like a rail modulator here and just do 1 and 1, but we're accomplishing the same thing here. So I don't think I set this guy to do titanium housings. We also need to set this to store titanium housings. There they go. I just want to make sure we're producing enough of these to meet the demands of both of these furnaces here. And now we're producing. Okay, so we'll let that run. Make us some titanium housings, and with that, we're caught back up to where we left off at the end of the last episode. I'm gonna slap one more level of furnaces on this, and then we're gonna have to go and actually make some progress, unlock some new recipes at the recipe station. Maybe get a hold of our upgraded V2 buildings. There's another stack of furnaces wired up, and those are probably going to end up being calcium powder, which will then later become a part of glass. Let's see here. We can't set it yet, but yeah, calcium powder, and then we're also going to need ceramics and glass and inductors. We've got, this will be calcium powder, and we're going to have one more stack ceramics and glass, and then fabricators, so we're close. So let's go hit our recipe station. Alright, let's see what it's going to cost us to get a hold of calcium powder. Looks like 600 calcium blocks. So we're going to need all that we have in storage, plus a little bit more. One, two. Okay, calcium blocks. There you go. So we've unlocked calcium powder, and then we're also going to need ceramics and glass. We need to unlock helium first, and that's from Future Health at level 6. So right now they want titanium sheets and titanium rods, both of which we have on hand. So let's get delivery of those set up, so that can run in the background. So titanium sheets are right here. So we'll do some lems. We'll do some OCLs. Say, and we could actually do this at the end of the line. Oh, we've hit our budget. Yeah, these OCLs are kind of needy, aren't they? No big deal. Can actually, I believe I have enough materials now to unlock solar panels V2. We'll take a look. The perfect segue into that. We'll go to moon energy. We need to consume more power first. Okay. What can I dump here that consumes a bunch of power? OCL consumes 10. Furnace consumes 20. Let's build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 furnaces. There should be an extra 100. Yep, solar generator V2, task completed. Okay, power. Solar generators, we need 20 and 15. 20. We'll split off 15 from here. Insert, insert, insert. Research. Okay. And let's see, solar generator V2 is going to produce 140. We'll have to work out exactly what we'll have to do to stack these. It looks like we'll be able to maybe stack 2 on top of each other in the same space that we're currently stacking 3. But just slapping that on there in the end gives us enough to get everything back online, so we'll run with that for now. So we'll set these OCLs to deliver plates, titanium sheets to Future Health. And those can run in the background while we set up calcium powder here. Set you to calcium powder. Calcium powder. Calcium powder. And we need to get calcite sheets. Nope, just regular calcium blocks up here. So calcium blocks should be right here. We'll lower this down to here. Rail V2, so we should have titanium bars, wolfram bars, then calcium blocks. And then we need to get this over here to the rail supports I have not built yet. So let's get those in there. We'll drop this by 1. Loop this up. Down. Cross and back. And then to get these guys over here, we're gonna need another rail support. Nothing special. Just to bounce this across here. Like that. And then that should be everything that's being made here. So we need to get this line... I'm sorry, this line back to rail 2. Actually, no, we need this to go to rail 2, this to go to rail 3. And we'll actually need to expand our bus again. We filled up all 15 slots. So we'll do this here. 1, 1. This will go to 2. Actually, this can just go to 3. We don't need this extra connector here. But we do need to send this across to here. And then send everything else forward. So let's take a look while we're waiting. We have some things to unlock. We can do some recipes. Furnace, we need to unlock ceramics, which is wolfram powder and calcite sheets. So we'll grab those off the line. I also want to see what else we can be working on here as far as deliveries. So we can deliver titanium beams to Selenium Corporation. We've had this Griffith's Blue unlock sitting here the whole episode, so we'll grab this. Then we can unlock turrets with some stabilizers, which we're not making on this particular line. And will not be, because stabilizers are not a part of intermediate building materials. Moon energy, we can deliver rotor. Well, no, we can't, because we're not making rotors here. We will be able to deliver glass, though, so we'll keep that in the back of our head. And then stators will not be done on this line. So we need to get through a couple more levels of future health solutions, but in the meantime, I'll set up this Selenium Corporation because we do have these available, and then I will grab 900 wolfram powder and 600 calcite sheets off the line. Okay. Items in hand for ceramics, 9, 6, and 4. Unlocked. We need helium still, and then we need ceramics for inductors. So we're on standby until we get through future health solutions. You know, we can actually unlock OCL level 2. We just need to build a bunch of unused regular OCLs, level 1 OCLs, and then feed the machines and resources. So let me build 17 OCLs. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, done. With seconds to spare. Alright, we've got OCLs. We need to give 30 and 20. Split 30.
Eruption has started.
Split 20.
StarRupture has started.
Yeah. We don't care anymore. Unlock, unlock, unlock. And we're golden. Okay. So, oh yeah, this has inputs on all sides. So we're gonna send beams to Selenium Corporation. So we'll wire up just this one OCL V2. We're gonna send Selenium Corporation a bunch of beams. These are gonna fly in here, and the way that the V2 works is that it'll send an entire stack all at once. And there it goes. So we get 1900 reputation points per delivery. With that big old beefy rocket.
Good work.
All right.
For the shipment. They're very impressed. The other crews
More caves. I see the blue. Oh, this is a copy of the bountiful cave. 1, Oh, this one's got another one. 6. Gotta reload. Firing at a 90-degree angle. 7. Alright, so that was way out here to the west. So I took kind of a meandering path to get here, but here's our base. I went around the mountain and then up into the northwest. Right around, there's a sulfur field here. There's actually 3 caves in this section here. So this is this cave here. Eight, 9, 10. Okay, we only made it to 2 caves that time, but we still came away with quite a bit. Another 50 for our pockets. Let me dump some of this stuff and we'll get back out to building. Let's see. Let's claim our LEM station, finally. We can socket some LEMs. And then we also have from Selenium Corporation, we have the recycler, which we're not really going to use that much. So we have ceramics and tubes for LEM before we can get to Mega Press. And then future health for the food station. We need calcium powder and wolfram powder, both of which we have, so this should be an easy delivery. So let's get that set up. So, calcium powder into our OCL, deliver, and away they go. I do want zip lines. Stators are going to cost us 300 titanium housings, 300 wolfram wire. Let me go ahead and unlock stators. Okay, fabricator, stator, blueprint, insert, 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 and 600 research, and we've unlocked stators. So what I think I'll do is I want to get a hold of zip lines, but I don't want to create a whole nother line at the moment, when I could just slap some quick stator fabrication onto the end of our line, just long enough to unlock the zip lines, and then we can get rid of it. And there's no need to set up a whole stack for this. We're not gonna do the storage depot and all that. We just need to get stators sent backwards. Oop, not where I wanted that. Sent backwards to our OCL.
Great work.
There we go.
Health Solutions has received your shipment. Claim your rewards in the terminal.
So, we want to make stators here. Temporarily. It's going to cost us titanium housings and wolfram wire. And those are at pole 4, rail 1. And then titanium housings should be right here, so this should be this. So we'll send rail 2 down, rail 1 down, send this to the left. There's our titanium housings. There's our wolfram wire. We'll let these fab some stators. We'll get rid of this line. We'll let this send to Clever Robotics so that we can unlock some zip lines. Here they come. Okay, let's go see what Future Health wants next. Alright, Future Health, the food station. And now we need tubes. That's easy enough. Okay. Let's build our food station. That's our LEM station, which we need anyway. Let's put this upstairs. LEM station somewhere. Really? I can face it that way, but not that way? Why not? Bye. Give me a LEM station.
Now you'll be able to install
There we go.
LEMs in yourselves, which will enhance your abilities. Remember,
And
the more often you perform a certain action,
a food station.
It is for your mind to adapt to notifications. We wouldn't
In front of the
want
window.
your brains to get fried, right?
I use them in the
Okay.
army. Why would I not be able to use them now?
What lemons do we
Neural
want?
pathways tend to fade over.
We have 1 movement, so let's take max stamina.
Perfect.
We have 1 combat, so max health, and we have 1 survival, so consumable stats by 35. We'll connect tubes to here. You can deliver to future health. Tubes. Okay. Now we wait.
Order fulfilled.
There we
A
go.
reward from Future Health Solutions is waiting in the corporate terminal.
Gimme. This is a Helium-3 extractor. And how close are we to... We're about halfway to zipline poles, because we're probably going to want cargo dispatchers after that to actually get our helium back to base. But let's run over to our helium base location and set up some helium extraction. Okay, let's set up our base core. Oh, there's an orange box like that. Anyway, let's pop a couple of helium-3 extractors here. 1 and 2, and what we'll have to do just until we get cargo receivers and senders is what we did in Season 1, which is just set up a bunch of storage depots here, and then every so often we'll have to come back over here and grab a few more until we're able to transport them by drone. So we'll run both of these into 1 storage, and then we'll just wind this back and forth to give ourselves some extra large storage for helium. And we'll put a solar generator on here. We'll set all of these to helium-3. And watch it all wind through.
Congratulations. Clever Robotics
Let's go.
has received its order.
Okay, that should be enough helium for now.
Fulfilling the order is waiting for you in the terminal.
Back off. Alright, let's claim Clever Robotics. Let's get our zip lines and see what they're going to want next. They want synthetic silicon and or heat resistance sheets. So we'll need to get a little bit more set up for that, but that won't be too bad to do. We now need to get a hold of ceramics, which is a furnace recipe. We have to go through glass. No, we got ceramics. We need to set up manufacturing for ceramics. And then glass and inductors, and then we'll be done. We'll have full access to intermediate building materials. So, let's do glass next. Oh yeah, we're gonna need a ton of helium-3. Calcium powder, no problem. Helium-3, I'm gonna have to run back and forth a few times to fill up my pockets, but that's why I created all of those storage depots. So let's meet back up once I'm ready to get this unlocked. Okay, I got my pockets loaded full of helium, so let's ride our new zip line back to base. Incredible. What a ride. We should probably get this out of the way. There we go, yeah. The guardrails are good for stopping you once you get in, but they're also good for stopping you when you're trying to leave. Alright, let's try again. Bye! So much faster than walking. And we're not getting stopped at every post this time. There was a bug in the playtest version, if you didn't play the playtest version of Update 1, where only the engineer character would get stopped on the zip line at poles. And that just so happened to be the one character that we were playing. And we're back. Incredible. Okay, let's turn this in. Recipe station. This will be in a furnace, right? Insert. Beautiful. We have some left over for actually making some glass, so I need 600 calcium powder, and we'll be good to go. Okay. Furnace. Let's drop in 600 calcium powder and 400 data points, and there's our glass. So we just have inductors to unlock, which is going to require ceramics, so we have to do one more stack here. Okay, we have a whole new stack of furnaces here, hooked up and waiting for some input. So let's hit this bottom one to ceramics, which is going to require us to hook up some calcite sheets and some wolfram powder. So that's going to be on rail 2 of this pole and rail 1 of this pole. We'll send both of these this way because they're not used anywhere else. Oh. Hook this to here. Hook that to there. There's sheets. Oh. Rail 1. Rail 1. There it is. Okay, that's queuing up. So that'll get us access to ceramics. Beautiful. We'll set our storage depot back here for ceramics. Let's pop up top. Up here, we're going to be making glass, which is going to require helium-3 and calcium powder. Now, helium-3, we're going to have to inject into our bus from a receiver, which we don't have yet. So for now, we're going to temporarily use a storage depot. Which will fill with helium-3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Calcium powder is our last rail, which is also going to end here. So we'll take this... We'll take this into here. I just need to figure out how I'm actually going to get this. I'm going to have to drop this down one level. Getting a little crowded here at the end of the line. I should probably reuse some of the first rails that have since ended. Wait, why did you guys stop? That guy was already through. He just gave up. Alright, let's try this again. So we need to get the last rail into here. I don't know why that works, but that doesn't, but whatever. We'll take that. And then we'll take our helium-3 into here. We'll send this upstairs. There we go. Here comes our calcium powder. There's a lot going on here at this junction. Alright, everything's going up top. And we're making glass. Glass. Set this to glass. And here it comes. Okay, let's get inductors unlocked here. Furnace. We're gonna need 600 tubes, 300 wolfram wire, and 600 ceramics, plus some data points. I keep calling them research points, they're data points. There's inductors unlocked. So that's everything that we're going to need to actually make intermediate building materials, except for the mega press. We can make intermediate building materials by hand, but the whole point of this factory is that we want to make them in a mega press. So we're also going to need to get these ceramics delivered to Selenium Corporation in the background here, but let's get inductor manufacturing set up. I think we have just enough height to squeeze that in. Alright, let's actually get these items back onto the line first. So we have an entire open rail here on pole 3. An entire open pole on pole 3. So let's put these on pole 3. Here and here. There we go. And in this stack of furnaces here, we're going to be making inductors, which is going to require tubes, wolfram wire, and ceramics. Tubes are rail 3 on pole 4. Wolfram wire is pole 1. And ceramics we just put on here. Like this. So we'll take pole 1 into here. We'll take pole 1 into here. We'll take pole 3 into here. Send all this to the left. There they are. Ceramics. Tubes. Wolfram wire. By your powers combined, you are inductors. Let's go. Okay. We'll set this to inductors. Let this start building up. I need to get this sent forward. Because we have one more building to stick on here, but before we can do that, we need to deliver a couple levels of Selenium Corporation. Let's take... Oh, we've hit our power budget again. Let's take ceramics from here. And build another solar generator V2. I guess we can see how many tiles we need to go to make another stack of this, so... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 tiles we need to go. So if we subtract 2 6-height pillars from that, that's 12. So we need to go up 4 on this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 10. That's 16. Platform. Platform. Now we don't have an adjoining platform here, so I don't think we're actually going to be able to place that. I'll have to push this out 1 in order to stack these. But theoretically, that would work if there was a matching pillar on the other side. For now, we'll just stick it behind. We'll set this OCL to deliver ceramics to Selenium. There they go.
Congratulations.
There we go.
Received its order. Your reward, as always, is waiting in the corporate terminal.
Let's go pick it up. Selenium, give me greater minor lem, and then what are you asking for? Glass. Okay, good. We have glass available, so let's deliver some glass, and that'll unlock the mega press, which we can then use to finally put the cap on this particular assembly line. So, let's get to it. Put that into there. Send this to Selenium Corporation. Glass. Now, since silicon is worth considerably more, but since silicon is not going to be a part of this assembly line, so we'll have to deal with getting a little bit less for glass, but we have plenty available. Alright, this is definitely the last one. There's no way this doesn't end it. There we go, okay.
Selenium thanks you for the order.
I just stick an extra furnace on here. We had so much extra calcium powder and so much extra helium that it didn't make sense to just make 2 furnaces handle all of that. So let's go unlock our mega press. Selenium Corporation, my mega press please. Thank you. So intermediate building materials. We have to unlock that recipe from the recipe station. We're gonna need 500 of the thing that we're trying to unlock and 10 meteorite hearts. That's not too bad. So this we can hand make in the basic item printer, which I think we also have to unlock from the basic item printer. Yes, we need 1,000 basic building materials and then 100, 100, 100. So let me go grab that. Okay. Recipe station, basic item printer, insert, 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 insert. There's that. Now, to do this in the mega press, we need to make 500 of those and collect 10 meteorite hearts. So I'm going to need intermediate building materials. Yeah, I'm going to need another stack of inductors, glass, and titanium housings. So, okay. Make me intermediate building materials times 100. There we go. So we have 1,000 now, which we can then come over here and turn in at the mega press 10 meteorite hearts. I know we don't have that many, so I'm going to have to do a little running around. I've only got 1, so I'll be right back. Okay, we're back with the goods. I also had to restart my model. I guess when you run it for 6 hours, it starts to lag a bit, so hopefully it's a little bit more responsive down there. But at any rate, let's unlock Mega Press 500, 10, and 500. There we go. So now let's go place our Mega Press. So real quick, I have taken the titanium ore. It doesn't need to go forward because there's only 1 stack here that actually uses titanium ore. So I'm going to reuse our rail number 1 to bring building materials, basic building materials, which are going to loop through under the line here, up onto rail 1 after the smelter here that's done using rail 1. So this is going to send building materials all the way forward to our mega press. Oh, I saw blue. Let's see if we can get blue at the spot where we need it, though. Not there, but there is fine. Oh, because it's 4 wide. Got it. Well, that's fine. Because you only need it to go here, right? So we'll set this right here. And it's valid. So now we need to get, presumably all those materials, but let's just double check. We need to get basic building materials, inductors, glass, and titanium housings up here. So we know where inductors and glass are. They're right here, inductors and glass here. So let's trace glass out. You go to right here, I guess. So let's put you here. I don't know what this used to be calcium powder, so we don't need that anymore. So that's fine. Glass can go there. We do actually need to create our rail support to go up. So this is going to go down 1. Up 1. We need to put our rail connector in here, even though we're going to only run 1 mega press for this. We'll loop this up here. Send this across. Send this into here. Alright, and then we're going to connect our glass. Well, actually, we're going to need a whole bunch of stuff here, so let's not get too hasty here. Rail connector. We're going to send this out 1. Bring this down 1. Glass into here. There it goes. All right, inductors. We'll send inductors across, because there's nothing forward from here. This is the end of the line. Here they come. Now we need titanium housings. Let's change titanium housings to here. That should be fine. So we're pole 2, rail 3. So we're gonna break this. We're gonna put a rail connector here. And we're gonna have to put it up 1, I guess, in order to get this over this rail. And then we're also going to need rail 1 here for basic building materials. So we're gonna send all of this to the right. Here comes titanium housings. Here comes basic building materials. Oh god, 40? I may want to consider giving basic building materials their own lane up here, but for right now, let's put a storage depot here in the back. Here. There we go. Rail V2, straight in. Intermediate building materials, and here they come. Luckily, it makes 25 per step. And we're not really going to be using these, like these aren't then going to be used in some other materials, so it's fine if these are a bit slow to build, because we'll only be coming back here to pick them up every so often. But now that we have them automated, we'll never have to come back out here and scoop up a bunch of stuff and run back to base and hand make building materials again. So that's fun, and also, once we unlock Rail V3s, this will fill up a lot faster. But for now, I'm going to patch up the rest of this. We'll call this a successful mini factory here. And there we go. So we still have our pockets full of intermediate building materials, but we'll grab
Nice.
our very first handful of these and bring them home. So the nice thing about this setup is that we're gonna need synthetic silicon to unlock transmitters and receivers, or dispatchers and receivers, drone dispatchers. So we actually have everything that we need to make synthetic silicon on this line, so we can temporarily slap down a machine here to make synthetic silicon just to unlock the dispatchers and the receivers, and then we can break that off again. But yeah, this is the stepping stone to all of the mid and late game stuff that we're going to need to build here, and now it's done forever. So we'll leave this. This will run independently of any of our other factories here, churning out intermediate building materials for us in the background that we can then use to make all of our actual factories that we're going to make to progress towards, well, the end of the game. So to make all of our Mega Press recipes, to make all of our compounder recipes, all of our assembler recipes, and then move on to all of the new Update 1 buildings. So let's see, is there anything else that we can tack onto the end here before we call this a day? Let me hit the development station here. So we have now the Furnace V2 is available to us. We can slap down a bunch of V1 fabricators just to get access to the V2 fabricator. Let me see what else we might want to do here. We still don't have base core amplifiers, but we're not hurting for heat capacity yet. We do have the storage depot V2 now available to us as well. So all of those are very tempting, but I think let's get into the fabricator V2. Let me pop down some fabricators here. There we go. Task completed. It says stay completed? Well, I'll leave them up. It doesn't matter. Let's unlock this real quick. Unlock all fabricator... Oh, unlock all fabricator recipes. What's left? Stabilizers and applicators. Well, we have this laying around from where we destroyed the first line, so we've got plenty of these. $100 and $300. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Fabricator. Blueprint, rotors, rods, and data points. There's that. And then applicators, 600 tubes, 200 glass. I don't think there'll be tubes in here. Okay. Fabricator. Tubes, glass, data points. There we go. Fabricator V2 task completed. Now we flip over here. Selenium Corporation, supply development station with the required items, 50 and 20. 50 and 20. Beautiful. Give it up and research it. Perfect. And what do they want here? Just 60 and 25. We can afford that split. It's going to cost us all, well, almost all of our quartz. Did I say 25? Insert, insert, insert. There we go. Storage Depot V2. Alright, I think that's all that we're going to be able to get done in this episode. We're at over 6 hours of recording here, so we're definitely over on playtime, but I'm sure this will edit down into a nice bite-sized format once we take out all of the waiting. So let's just quickly go over what all is on here. So I showed you guys how to actually make these stacks. I never did actually go over what's in each location, so I'm going to flip around to the back side of this, just in case you want to try to replicate this, or as a guide for your own version of this. So we're doing basic building materials in front before we even hit the assembly line. Then we're doing titanium on the bottom, wolfram bars on top, calcium blocks, titanium rods, titanium sheets, titanium beams, wolfram wire, calcite sheets, tubes, wolfram powder, titanium housings, calcite powder, or calcium powder, ceramics, glass, inductors, and then finally, intermediate building materials. Let me get rid of all of these here. We'll plop down one of the new fabs just to take a look at it. Fabricator V2. She's a big girl. She's 4x4. So if we want to triple stack this, it will require pillars at all 4 side locations, because at a height of 3, or at the 3rd tier of pillars, right? The pillar supports are only offering 2 tiles of support. So if we do pillars at the 3rd deck, here, 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 and here, and also here, 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 and here, that will reach in 2 in each side, so you can triple stack these, although, well, I guess we'll have to see exactly how high we have to make the gap here, because these guys are pretty dang tall compared to even like a Storage Depot V1. It looks like they're a tile taller than the Storage Depot V1. We'll have to see if that's even possible, because that may push the pillar height a bit too high. So we'll experiment with that when we actually find something that requires or would be aided by one of these V2 recipes for titanium rods, titanium sheets, wolfram plates, wolfram wire, rotors, tubes, or stators. So these are all Satisfactory style alternative recipes. If you've played or are familiar with Satisfactory, you have the ability to unlock different ways to make items that either require less items or require more items to make more output more quickly or create items more efficiently. So each one of these recipes is going to be slightly different. So for example, this V2 tube recipe will produce 8 tubes per 2-second cycle, which is exactly enough to run 1 cycle of applicators, because that requires 8 tubes to make. But this does require the addition of goethite ingots and wolfram powder, which is not normally part of the tube recipe. So it's a mix-up on the recipe, but it fills certain niches in the production pipeline. So we'll find some uses for these going forward. But since this requires goethite, then we're not really going to be able to use these until we go and do the Forgotten engine, which we should be able to do at this point. We've got a gun. We don't have access to power cells, but we can use the drone infinite jump trick to actually hack our way or clip our way into the Forgotten engine if we really want to do that. But I'll probably just finish up making chemicals and then unlock the power cell to do it the correct way. But I think that's where we're going to end it for this episode. So let's get a good view of this thing. I like how uniform it looks. We do need to unlock receivers to get rid of those storage depots for the next episode though. But for now, I think I'm quite satisfied with what we've done here. So if you're still with us, thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this playthrough of StarRupture, hit like and subscribe. If you want to check out StarRupture for yourself, head on over to Steam and pick it up. And if you want to let me know what you think of the game so far, then hit the comments down below. But whatever you do, I'll see you right here again in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.